the guy that called in last week, he's in a live-in relationship with his girlfriend, and she's not banging him, or barely. Like, intimacy is almost non-existent. There's always an excuse. So, how would you guys deal with a situation like that where you've lost the frame, and she clearly doesn't want to be intimate with you?
So I'll just sort of, I got a thing that's like, I call it like kind of the four pillars of maintaining frame in a relationship. And it's, you got to start working on three of these right away. And it's not even about trying to get laid. All right. You have to work on your mindset and how you're seeing yourself, your sexual market value, and your purpose outside of the relationship. Usually, if she doesn't want to bang you, it's because you became unattractive. So one of those three things is suffering. Almost every time I have a guy with this problem, one of those three things is a problem. They let themselves go. They're stressed out all the time. They're not, they don't have a purpose out there. They're dedicated to her, and they're not dedicated to whatever purpose that they should see for themselves. They're in a dead end job. They've gotten out of shape. Oh, whatever. Or there's something limiting up here where they think they deserve this. They think that, they just have a bunch of limiting beliefs. Things like books like your book, all three of your guys' books, actually, and mine eventually, if I can ever get it out of editing, maybe, right? It's, these things are explaining the mindset that you need to have and the approach that you need to have so you can execute things appropriately. Something's missing in those three things. You start proving that stuff. All of a sudden, usually by magic, she starts to see you a little bit different and maybe wants to bang you. Now, fourth part of that, though, is seduction. A lot of guys aren't very good at that. They don't know how to escalate physically. What's cool about pickup is you learn that stuff during the dating process. So when you're in the relationship, you can execute those things. Most guys sort of just fall into sex more or less by accident, because we are human, we are sexual beings that are wired to just have sex with each other. So we sort of just let it happen. But there's a whole seduction process, though. And there's also the sexual experience, getting her dependent emotionally and physically from those neurochemicals from having sex with you. The intensity of that sexual experience isn't high enough, or she's not capable because of several notches, inability to pair bond, whatever. But for some reason, those neurochemicals not firing to make her bought in and want sex from you. So seduction would be that fourth thing you work on. Now, there's other steps, like if that's not working fundamentally, but working on those four things solves most problems. Generally, you got to start with the first three: your mindset, sexual market value, and your purpose outside of the relationship, and hammer that for like a good month or so, sometimes longer, before you even breach the sex part of it, because she needs to see you differently. She sees you as a non-sexual being. She needs to see you as a sexual person that she would actually want to mate with. And that's what that happens. So
it's like, how do you start my car won't start. That's why I hate that question. My car won't start. What's wrong with it? Well, that's a fucking expansive question. Like, it could be 100 different things. I mean, in general, it's usually because the guy just stopped trying. And I hate to say it, most girls actually are pretty good, but they're reactive. So and I know this is going to be a lot of doing over the same terrain that Paul went on, but just being more attractive will inspire more attraction. Desire can't be negotiated. Doesn't mean it can't be fixed. Sometimes it's other things. If a girl's cheating on you with somebody that she's looking to divorce you and get together with him for whatever reasons, a lot of times the girl will get a dopamine rush from that relationship to where you're kind of like methadone. She doesn't like you anymore. You're in the way of her. You're too controlling. In that case, the same things that'll make you more of attractive when it's just a wife that got mad you got a dad bod isn't going to work in that situation. Other cases, a lot of guys have like super religious girls that have had their brains just messed up from the work that their parents did on them, training them to think sex is bad. And they just assumed, well, now that she's married, and they're like, yeah, no, the hardwiring is still there. So like I said, you got to break down all this stuff. But the key part is, what is the factor under your control? What did you do? Did you get fat? Did you get lazy? Did you stop gaming her? Get all that shit sorted out. Sure, she may be an asshole and this is all her fault, but until you know that for sure, you can't really say. Now, then he said sometimes it's the case post-baby. Hormones change. What's that? Postpartum depression. A lot of girls there are just like mentally unstable. Maybe her psychologist got her on SSRIs. Then you have that secondary discussion, which is like you said, Rich. Do I put up with this or do I not put up with this? Is she valuable to me enough that I'm willing to work on this issue with her to help her get past it? Or is it just basically a giant time sink? So then you got the work on yourself section. You got the how do you fix section. And the best way we've been able to break it down, and it's going to be kind of the roadmap for my second book, is get out of your wife's frame, build your own frame, and then pull her into your frame. Three-pronged approach. Same habits for everything. The only difference is the approach you take. Like for working out, just getting guys to go and hit the gym to start looking more attractive, even if their wife doesn't want them to leave, is a hurdle. That's for guys who are in their wife's frame. Guys that are building their own frame, do I do TRT? What kind of schedule do I want? How do I plan all this stuff? That's great. Pulling a girl into your frame, how do I bring her to the gym with me? Sexual, same thing. At first, it's why won't she touch me? You sort out that stuff. You get out of her frame. You stop trying to please her by doing more dishes. Then it's your own frame. How do I make myself sexual? Do I need erectile dysfunction pills? Do I just need to stay in better shape? Do I have issues with this, that, or the other thing? Simple problem a lot of guys have. For ones that wear them, condoms. Too small. They think I'm just a normal guy. Yeah, no, you kind of need magums. And the reason why you hate them is because it cuts off your circulation. You're like strangling yourself all day. But you know what I mean? It could be just a small issue like that, or it could be an expansive thing. Oh.
Sorry,
but yeah, you really have to get down
There's a
and narrow
soundboard
down
for magnums.
specific reasons. Yeah. There's my flex for the day. Yeah. And then once you're into that, then you can find out, yeah, she'll maybe put there and she'll just put in starfish. So how do you get your girl to be more exciting in bed and put out? But yeah, it's like I said, it's impossible to give like a pithy 1-minute comment on here. But let's just say they're basically asking you, why doesn't your car start, when you have no idea because you haven't even opened the hood yet.
Before you go, Rollo, let me just chime in. We got a super chat, and I want to hit on. We got almost 700 guys watching and only 200 likes, guys. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button, so hit it. It just helps out with the algorithms. If you're going to click the join link, which I just posted in the chat, come with a good internet connection, have your camera on, and in the private chat when you get in, let me know what your question's on. So I can organize you and bring you in. If you have a grievance or something that you want to talk about because you have a better solution to a problem that we've discussed,
bring it.
You know, let's talk about it. We got a super here from Devin. He says, David Dita suggests that some of this behavior to be expected. How do you distinguish female nature from intentional disrespect? Much love.
Same thing.
It's the same thing. It's no different. It doesn't matter if it's intentional or unintentional. It's still disrespect. Who cares?
Behavioral conditioning. This is what
I think, and this is maybe this is a David Dita thing. I don't know. He's a little kind of touchy feely woo woo magic for me. But I read the tweet, David Dita. But what's the difference between intentional disrespect and unintentional disrespect? Right. The only thing that separates those two is the insight to know that the disrespect has occurred. And that's, I was looking at James Hicks here talking about, well, what's maturity? Maturity is when your woman knows that she's screwed up. That's maturity. When she knows organically, oh shit, he's silent and that scares me. That's when she's mature enough, because young women have no sense of self until they get to a point, like usually the epiphany phase, when they realize that they are the ones who are becoming necessitous. So when a woman lives her, through her quote unquote hoe phase, right? Her party years, usually during that time, she is almost like selfless. And I mean that in the sense that she has no like understanding of her being self-conscious to the point where she would have the insight to know that she crossed a line. Because until that point, usually most women, even the ugliest of women, have some hubristic idea that they the world revolves around them. And that comes from female solipsism. So getting back to the question here is, a sexless marriage. First off, I 100% agree with Ryan there. Again, it's one of those death by 1,000 paper cuts. I get guys all the time that say, we used to have sex in the backseat of the car and she used to give me blowjobs when we were out hiking in the woods, or, that kind of stuff. And then now it's suddenly familiar family, husband daddy sex now instead of hot monkey sex that she used to get, which was inspired by genuine desire. And that's really where I would go with this, is that it's inspiring that sense of urgency. And most guys don't have the balls to experiment with making that woman urgent. feel urgency, right? Feeling competition anxiety. Because once you put the ring on the finger, once you sign your name on the contract, hell, once you decide to put your name on the rental lease, if you move her into your house, then you will see by incrementally, order of degree, women get more and more comfortable and they don't feel like they have to bang. They don't have to make that effort anymore, or they do it on their own terms. So that's number one. Number two is I would much rather have sex with my wife once a week if she was tearing my clothes off and making it the most memorable marathon session of sex that we ever had, rather than having it 5 or 6 times a week if she's just lying there going, are you done yet? Because I got to finish the laundry, right? That's I would much rather have the genuine desire than to actually have the frequency, because I would much rather have that intensity, because that to me says this is organic, this is genuine, this is not something that's contrived or as a part of obligation. I had this conversation one time with Pat Campbell when we started talking about duty sex, and women were losing their minds when Christian women were supposed to give it up to their Christian husbands, because the Bible says that you're supposed to spread your legs for your honey, whether you feel like it or not, because that's your conjugal rights or duties or something like that. And women were losing their minds and talking about enthusiastic consent at that time. And I had to think about that, and I go, it's kind of true, because one of the reasons why women will not have sex with you is because they don't feel a sense of urgency, they don't feel a sense of desire for you, an innate sense of desire for you, and they don't want to have anything tell them that they should, because that goes against the existential fear of women, right? It's, oh my God, I got with a beta who I thought was alpha. It was fun while it lasted, but now it turns out that he's really a schmuck. When a guy lets himself go, when she lets herself go, and they both give up on not on the relationship so much, but on themselves within that relationship, that's when the sex starts to decline. That's when the resentment kicks in. And it's not something that you go, oh, let's go see the marriage counselor or the sex therapist, and maybe we'll go negotiate. Okay, honey, you're going to have sex with me 3 times if I do these things. And last but not least is women don't want to have that handled for them. They don't want to be told that they should be into sex when they are not into sex. And the reason how I explain this is there's a little thing called, I forget the name of it, but there's the pink pill. It's not the Viagra for guys. It's like a pink pill that's supposed to increase libido in women. Flopped horribly because women don't want to have it. They think they're being roofied, right? They're being like, they don't want to have that for the same reason they don't want to be drugged and taken home and raped, right? Because it's taking away that control, that hypergamous control, and that natural innate desire for that guy. So there has to be that innate desire and that urgency, that dread, that fear of loss, and if that's not something that they can be insightful about and something that they can organically come to, then yes, that's when you're going to have those problems. What do women do when they say, you know what, I'm checked out, I'm going to divorce this guy? And 6 months before they even filed the papers, what do they start doing?
They start working out, getting a boob job.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. Because because you're not worth her natural, genuine desire for, but some fictitious guy, maybe it's the alpha that she's been widowed from, or the fantasy alpha she's been reading about or watching on a romance novel show or something like that. That's the guy that she just knows is out there, and she's got to be ready for that dude. She's not doing that for you, because she has already, her brain or id, her ego, whatever it is, has already decided you're never going to be Fabio. You're never going to be the guy on the cover of the romance novel. And she needs to damn well be in shape, because she knows what she has to do. It's not that she doesn't have the urgency. It's not that you have mismatched libidos. That's bullshit, man.
Oh, yeah, that one.
You have mismatched libido, bro.
Yeah, that is like what, marriage counseling 101.
Yeah,
no, you do not have mishmashed libidos.
Sounds like an article right out of Cosmo or something.
That's why. So, and what happens when you go say, you know what? Okay, baby, I'm done. I'm going to the gym. For the first time in your marriage, you say, I'm going to go I just got a gym membership. She'd be like, well, what's he got it? Well, what happened? What's going on? That imagination kicks in, and now it's like, oh, sense of urgency, sense of competition anxiety. People ask me like, how do you keep it fresh with your wife after 25 years? It's like, I work in an industry where there's an awful lot of opportunity for social proof, pre-selection, and not a little bit of competition anxiety. Not that it's going to ever happen, but the possibility. Women don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could cheat or is in a position where he could cheat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Funny thing too, to expand on this one, hysteric bonding. A lot of guys don't believe this until they find themselves in a situation where they're done with the marriage and they check out, or they have an opportunity to cheat. Sometimes they actually do. Essentially the girl is terrified of losing the man in the relationship. Divorce papers on the desk, whatever. They find they get ridden harder and put away wetter than any man in the past has done. And they think, what the hell happened? I fixed my marriage because I cheated? And it's not that. It's because, like Rollo said, that anxiety, that worry of losing him. A younger, hotter girl wants to sleep with him. And it's almost like a manic need of mate retention. And I love this because hysteric bonding is the perfect example of when you say, Rollo, the only agency a woman has is their sexuality.
And it's a perishable thing.
And in this is the case. She needs to hold on to you. She has nothing else to offer. And so what does she do? She will blow you 3 ways from Sunday. She will fuck you 5 times a day. And guys think, this is great. I won the lottery. This is all I had to do. And a lot of guys mistake that for genuine desire. And then they think, oh, good, I can sit on my laurels. What happens then after 3-4 weeks, she realizes she's kept you. The anxiety from the situation's worn off. Things go right back to normal. And that's why a lot of marriages that are on the rocks and are going will have these weird off again, on again separation things. Because the guy will accidentally have a bit of status to himself when he checks out of the marriage. The girl gets attracted to it because they are reactive, starts sleeping with him like her life depended on it. He thinks he's won the lottery or done something proper. And then to reward her, he goes back to his old self. And then after 2 or 3 of these cycles, they end up leaving each other saying, you know, he was clearly abusive and manipulating me. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, let me spin off that. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. So this is why dread and how you execute it is really critical, because a lot of guys really F it up, right? They really screw up executing dread. They'll either start executing heavy dread because of their frustrations and their sexual frustrations, and they're mad. And after having a few fits because she won't sleep with them, he'll start trying to give ultimatums, and that's their way of like trying to execute dread. Well, here's the thing. She's already out of your frame, and she already thinks you're not sexually marketable to begin with, and you're probably already a lousy lay to begin with, and now you're going to threaten her with leaving. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like, so that doesn't usually work out too well for a lot of times, you know, like it's just like, fine, get the fuck out of here. Like, what's wrong with you? So like they haven't built, or it goes the other way where they do have that. They don't actually think they can do better, and their self-esteem maybe isn't quite there yet. There's usually, if they're sticking around and you've lost frame, there's 2 things. Either one, they don't actually think they can do better, and they're kind of still on the hope that you're going to be this alpha dude that she thought you were. Or 2, she doesn't want to be what I call a bad chimpanzee, where she just leaves the relationship because she's a bad person or she cheats. This is why most of the time women go to marriage counselors, and they push, you know, a want for that. They go to the marriage counselor because they want it to appear, they want to be able to say, well, you know what? I really worked on this. See, I'm a good person. I'm a good chimp. And he just wasn't the guy, you know, so now we had to break up. And so when you execute dread too early without having your own sexual market value and your own purpose and what you bring to the table in mind, you can cause one of these 2 things. What Ryan said, in which case, then as soon as she gets you back, fear of losing you goes away and it's back in that cycle. Or she outright goes, oh, really? Well, you're kind of disgusting to begin with, so I'm out of here, right? So this is why you really have to focus on you and put out the SMV and your purpose and stuff and make that a core focus, and then being attractive, right? And not being unattractive, and then start working on the seduction. And then if the seduction's not working, then you start working on that dread, but you've now worked on yourself a bit and you're now better. Do you know what I mean? Than how she saw you. And you're trying to flip that around, I guess, with your behavior.
You need to be the guy that your wife or your girlfriend wants to cheat with. That's what you need to be.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
What it boils down to.